All right, guys, we're going to go live shortly. Give me a moment. Yo, what is up, people? What is up, people? What is up, people? It is your boy MM2K of Geeks, Hard Knock Digital Culture, Cloud Dosage, you name it. I am there. Also, might as well, you know, it's starting to branch off into finally its own semi-successful brand, MM2K Gaming. I'm back here with another episode of our new show. It's called NRO Talk Watch. This is where we examine the discourse of AAA genre defining gaming out there in these gaming streets, and we respond to it live and we give you our takes. Man, oh man, oh man, do we have a great show for you today. And this show is exclusive to Twitch. So definitely something that we want to do to keep Twitch alive, because we made some changes. NRO, mic check, and NRO podcast, which is our weekly podcast, our flagship podcast for all things gaming. that is moving from here, and that is going to MM2K Gaming News over on YouTube. We're gonna try that out this week. We were using it to highlight geeks and get geeks rolling and testing some things out. And you know, as far as the content sites are concerned, we may not be ready to fully pull the lever on that yet, but we've tested everything out and come up with a good idea of how we want to address those things. But at the very least, we know that we got the Discord operating, we got the Discord popping, it's growing. So definitely, this is what you're going to want to do in order to check out the Discord. Let's go directly to it. This is the website that hosts the Geeks content at the moment. This is pntsnetwork.com. This is a legacy branding. We're going to be moving from it soon. We're going to be doing rebranding. I know people are talking about, oh, Xbox is going to do some rebranding. Well, you know, rebranding may be good for the soul. In some cases, maybe not. We'll talk about that. We're going to be doing some rebranding as well in 2024. And PNTS Network is going to be changing. So that will be no more, but what will stick around is Geeks, and Geeks has its own tab. And what is Geeks? Geeks is the gaming collaborative, and it's spelled GEIX. It's the gaming collaborative with me and other content creators where we're trying to get gamers of like minds, of different minds, people that just want to discuss and play games. We want to get them all in the same space. We want to talk about games. We want to have fun with games. You know, just they say pop-ish or talk-ish and pop spit. You know what I mean? All things gaming. So definitely check us out because there's a lot of things happening on social media that is very bombastic, over the top, but more importantly, not rooted in facts. And what we want to do is we want to engage and inform. We think both of those are important. We want to engage with people and play games and have those let's play moments, even if we're not playing together. But when we're having the gaming discussions, we want to do it from an informative space. And Geeks is our offering in doing so and giving you that safe space to do so away from the muck and misinformation that's out there on social media. So definitely what you're going to want to do is go to pntsnetwork.com/geeks. That's spelled GEIX. Check out the tab, or you can just hit the pntsnetwork.com and then go to the Geeks tab. Check out everything there. You can get to the Discord. You can see the Twitch channel. You can see the YouTube channel. All that great stuff will be there. All right. And then if you want to, you can also go and check out MM2K Gaming. That's where all my content is hosted and all the links where I access stuff from as well. All right, so now that we paid the bills, here's the things that I want to get into real quick. Well, first and foremost, let's not forget, and do I still have the tweet up? Let's see here. Let me put this tweet up here just so you guys are aware. We are doing some stuff today. Let's go back to this. This is our tweet to let everybody know that we're live. But what we're also doing today is we are going to be broadcasting Foam Stars gameplay. I got it pinned here in the chat if you're watching in the chat. I have NRO Talk Watch. You know, we're going to speak on the Timdog and Game Pass tracker space and more. Then Foam Stars, and you get to thank Cold Blood Sensei. I'm going to do my first look on Foam Stars. And then I'm going to do a season 1, episode 1 Let's Play on Foam Stars. And it's all back to back to back starting soon. So this is all the links and stuff like that. You can check that out either here in the chat or go check me out on Twitter. I'm at MM2K on Twitter, and you can get that information and all the links there. Why do I seem so pained to be playing Foam Stars? Because you guys know I'm a AAA genre defining gamer. I mean, yes, there are games and experiences that are not of that ilk that I will partake in, but Foam Stars does not fit. Does not cut, is not cut of that cloth. My brother Cold Blood Sensei, shout out to him. he gave me a proposition because he had to carry me in our Remnant 2 game stream. We got a full game stream on at MM2K Gaming News on YouTube. I beat the game with him, but he had to carry me through the whole journey. And he said, I'm not going through this again, Moz, unless you go play Foam Stars. I want to see you cringe, because that's how I cringe in having to carry your behind. You know what I'm saying? Throughout that whole game stream. So now he's forcing me to do that because he won't play Helldivers with me. All right. So now I got to suffer through that in order to get him to play Helldivers 2 with me. Speaking of Helldivers 2, you will see links that will pop up asking to, hey, look, if you get a chance, or if you have an opportunity, we really appreciate it. Me and my brother Cold Blood, we're trying to get copies of Helldivers 2 for both of us. If you would like to contribute to that cause, we would really appreciate it. It would mean so much to us. We thank you for whatever, support that you can provide. All right, with that said, let's get right into it. I feel like, before I get into today's content, which won't be super long, I feel like there might be some of you, for the first time, that have been part of these Xbox rumor talks and spaces and stuff like that, who either don't know who I am, who may have heard my name for the first time last night, thanks to my brother Tim, or who know who I am and say, hold on. Has Tim gone that far off the reservation to where he's naming this guy? This guy is a Phil hater, and he's an Xbox hater, and he's trying to get in good with the PlayStation people. Like, why would Tim use this guy as a reference to talk anything sensibly about Xbox? So I want to kind of explain my content and shout out to my good brother for doing so, but I want to explain why he did that. And he was right in doing so. And that's not me being cocky, because actually he was right in doing so, because I'm not the resident expert or the subject matter expert, or, to use industry terms, the SME. I'm not the SME on that. My team is. When I say my team, I'm gonna let you know who I'm talking about in a little bit. But what I do is, my content is based upon trying to help consumers make the gaming decisions that are right for them. And in order for me to do that, I can give my assessments on things, but then my assessments on things are so enamored and so surrounded by false information from these other places. So as I'm trying to guide you to where you want to be, that's best suited for you, not what's best suited for me or best suited for anybody else, what's best suited for you, there's a lot of brush and muck. There's a very challenging journey that we have to travel through. And there's a lot of brush and muck and things that are coming to attack us. So as your tour guide, I have to be sound and steadfast and ready for everything to clear that brush for you so you can get to where you want to get to, because social media, gaming journalism, all that stuff is in a very horrible space right now. And they are not out here to serve you. They're out here to get clicks, right? And in order for me to do that, I have 25 plus years in Fortune 500 experience. And I've learned over the time that the timid, mild, and peacefully talking to people usually get overshadowed. It isn't until you're idolized do you get to sit there with your fingers crossed and your leg, on your thigh, and you sit there and you're grabbing your ankle and yes, Bob, and yes, Frank, with the elevator music playing in the back. Do you get to speak gingerly and people listen to you? I found over time that the people that get things done are the people that shake things up the most. And as someone who is very steadfast and very sharp in my assessment of things, I've combined my understanding of that due to my Fortune 500 business experience and just who I am as a person. I am very direct, shrewd, if you want to call it that. You know what I mean? Like, I tell you what you need to hear, not what you always want to hear. And I can do it calmly, but again, here's the thing. I'm not calm. I'm not a calm speaker in real life. Like I am when I'm doing business. I can't do what I do in the Fortune 500 world. You know, been in a spot to manage managers, given depositions in multi-million-dollar cases, dealt with the SEC. I can't yell at the SEC. That's a no. I can't do all that there. So from a 9 to 5 standpoint, I got to zip it all up and keep it all tight and keep it all normalized with the elevator music when I'm dealing with that. But when I come home, I unbutton my belt buckle and I just let everything hang. You know what I'm saying? I kick my shoes off, I let it all hang, right? Pull the tie off. So I'm me. Some of it is performative. Like when we get to the yelling and that, some of it is performative. But a lot of it is passion. So I know there's people, and I'm not trying to be facetious here, just like, again, I only know how to be direct. There's a lot of people that like to sit there and listen to folks, yeah, this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is what we're going to, with the elevator music playing in the back. That's not my content. So my delivery is a lot more direct, a lot more powerful. It's a lot more megaphone-ish, right? And then recently, to add to that, in working with my brother Cold Blood, we've gotten a little bit more jagged, raw, and NSFW, not safe for work. And it's not sexually explicit stuff, but it's sailor mouth. Curse words are extracted. So when you take the combination of that, because again, that's the reality of it. When you're playing games with your friends and when you're talking with your friends, you're not PG. We're adults. So and I feel like I'm talking to adults. So, more recently I've pulled the scab off of that. Try to be as authentic as possible. And I think people appreciate that. Some people don't like that, and that's fine. There's other content creators that will provide you the elevator talk and elevator music that you seek and you desire. I'm doing something that's a little bit more brash, a little bit more direct, because again, my main concern is the consumer who's looking for something specific, but then they got to deal with all these entities that are trying to shove their agenda down their throats. And I don't like that. I'm very compassionate to people as far as what it is that they want to do. You like what you like, and you should be able, even if I think it's silly and stupid, for me, I like to see people enjoy themselves. So as long as what you want to do doesn't hurt me, go and enjoy yourself. And if I feel like we're at a crossroads where our paths crossed and what you may be rallying for might do a little damage, okay, then we can talk about it. But I understand where you're coming from, and I don't want you to game like me, and I'm not going to game like you, right? So that's my content in a nutshell. With that being said, that's separate from the other hats that I wear. Like I one of the things that I do here in this gaming space is we're trying to build networks, and we're trying to build collaborative efforts like Geeks, so all types of gamers can enjoy themselves. Like, I'm not the biggest, for full transparency, again, like I alluded to earlier, I may not be the biggest Xbox fan, but I got like over 40 plus Xbox codes that I want to give away as we start rolling out Geeks. I could have very easily given these codes to someone else and said, screw that. I don't like Xbox, so I don't want Xbox gamers. That's not. I've been gaming for 35 plus years. And in those I've gamed in gaming's golden age, where I feel like the golden age of gaming, when it was its most authentic, even though the technology may have not been there, but when it was its most authentic and it was focused on all the right things, was back in I want to say the Genesis, Nintendo, that era, and like the late 90s era. This is before things, I think, started getting out of control. Back then, we respected all gamers. Oh, you like to play fighters, you like to do this, and we respected all of them. Like, and even in the early 2000s, when people did reviews, there were people like, hey, I only play RPGs and fighters. So, okay, we got an RPG fighter expert. Oh, well, I only play this type of game. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like this gumbo of, one size fits all. It was like, you could be your individual, unique thing, and you could find your respect within the gaming sector and the gaming demographic that you appeal to, and that wouldn't be challenged. If I just play Madden all day, I'm not putting that person on Grand Blue Fantasy, because that may not be their shtick. We're going to put an RPG person on there that maybe have some broad appeal, that can not only speak to the RPG elements of this game, but can also speak to the fact that, hey, does this have broad appeal that reaches outside of the RPG space too? Does it do everything that it needs to do as an RPG and bring people in? Because that's something that games should get accolades for as well. When it does when it serves this demographic and it extends to others. That's how it used to be. And like, I want to say, like, the 2010 era, things started to heavily erode, man. So with that said, we want to create those safe spaces. So I can be my bombastic, direct, sailor mouth self when it comes to my direct content, and say, look, it's all about AAA genre defining gaming. Shut that off. Put on my geeks partnership. Hey, look, I'm dealing with other creators that are indie game lovers, like my brother Lo-Fi Monk, who, those that love service games and are PC minded, not necessarily AAA minded, but kind of like my brother N7, or who just loves to slice everything, like my brother Squids. The four of us can get together and collaboratively try to roll out this geeks experience where I respect where all those brothers are coming from, so we can create a place and a safe haven for all gamers. Then I take off that hat, right? And then I work with my brother Jack to Slip, my Ace Boon Coon Jack to Slip, and then we address the cloud gaming stuff. You know what I'm saying? And to be definitive about what happens at cloud gaming, at Cloud Dosage, my Cloud Dosage team, when they come to their assessments of things, the way that they come to their assessments and the way I come to my assessments under the MM2K HNDC hub, we land in two totally different solar systems. But the thing that's essential about them, and why I'm so proud of the work that they do, is that wherever they come from a viewpoint versus mine, it all comes from a place of facts. And yes, two people can look at the same thing and come up with different scenarios or different analysis of what's coming down the pike. None of us knows until it happens. But as long as that conversation's being derived by facts, I think that's all the consumer, that's all we can do for the consumers, provide them the facts. And something that really made me proud of that team the other night, like I was emotionally proud, is I'm talking behind the scenes, and there's, this Xbox story is a huge story, right? And we don't know what's going to shake out where. Everybody has their trusted sources. And, you know, my sources are based upon relationships that I built with people, many whom don't agree with me. But because I know they pivot from factual places, when they start speaking and they're serious, I'm all ears. That's when it's like I was saying yesterday, time to shut the mouth and open the ears. I'm all ears. See, when I was saying that yesterday, I wasn't saying anything that I don't do myself. So as I'm getting this information and I'm taking note of it, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. The team over at Cloud Dosage, they were compiling the same information from their sources. And I know my sources are clad tight. You can't get any more clad tight unless you're on the board. You know what I'm saying? And right now, the people that are on the board or the people in the big wigs that are internal in Microsoft, they don't want this information coming out in the manner that it's coming out because it's detrimental to their business. These are business people. So unless you're sitting in their seat, when it comes to the sources and the people that the relationships I've established and the people that I'm close to, you really don't get that much closer. And I was very proud to see that we have that type of connection there with this team. A lot of them are newer in the gaming space. They haven't been building these relationships as long as I have. And even at that, they were getting stuff like I'm on my side having a conversation, and the exact same thing I'm getting, they're getting over there. And that let me know that we're Jack and credit to Jack, Lee, Simon. I mean, everybody. I'm sorry. Everybody. If I that whole team, if I don't say a name, that's not because you're not recognized. The whole damn team does such a fantastic job over there. I'm proud of them. Even though, like I said, at the end of the day, once that information disseminates and those guys look at it and then we look at it over here in this space and we draw different conclusions on what it means, at least when we give it to the reader or the content consumer, they're getting the straight facts. They are entertained by our analysis, but they can derive to their own spot because we have at least given them the facts, right? So, that's what I appreciate. And I was very proud of those guys. So, what does that have to do with anything? I brought those guys up to say this, that regardless of anything that I create in my MM2K Gaming Hard Knock Digital Culture Hub or anything that we may say on Geeks, these are different pillars of the whole we want to be welcoming to gamers experience. And the only thing that I ask of any of the pillars that I'm part of is that I want to derive our assessments from the facts. I don't want to make stuff up. I don't want to just strictly work off of hearsay. I want precedent, receipts, documented stuff. Like I want that to sculpt the conversation. Once we start doing that, we know who the move makers are and all other stuff. I can't ask for any more, because when we start talking about our analysis and then the content consumers on the other end listening to that, and they're probably saying, well, hold on, where did that come from? And we start breaking down where it came from, then we are doing better by the community because we're now informing people. There's nothing wrong with giving your analysis. It's just, as long as you let it know, hey, look, this is what I see from this. This is my forecast. That's why you heard me use that term a lot yesterday. This is my forecast. But as long as I'm telling you why my forecast is the way that it is, because there's water or there's storm activity moving in this direction, and that's factual. Consumers are not dumb. They can make their own assessments if our assessments don't jive with their you know, with how they perceive things. At least we've raised their level of understanding to where they can make their own assessments. They can go by ours, whatever it is that they want to do. So that's why yesterday, I was very honored for my brother Tim to mention me and say, hey, look, Moss is the cloud expert. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to get one of those guys out there, because even though I know my cloud stuff, they know it better. They've written some great articles. One, which again, like how you take the same factual information and you can come down with different assessments. They wrote a great article, which I talked about the other day too. I thought it was a great article, where they say, hey, look, we get where people were in an uproar, but we feel that the box is not the future of gaming, and Microsoft is just making that move towards that reality. And it may be a different assessment that I'm focused. Like, I believe that long term as well. It may be a different assessment on my conversation with the gamer, but I think it's a very compelling argument nonetheless, and one that's rooted in fact. So I urge everybody to go to clouddosage.com and definitely check that out. So what I wanted to do last night, as I was, you guys may have seen me in GPT Tracker. I think I may have scared some people off because as soon as they saw him that I was raising my hand, some people said, oh, I know what this guy's going to do. I'm out of here. No, I'm a consummate professional. He said I'm the oh man, he said I'm the cloud killer. Any platform you cap for dies afterwards. Shout out to Cold Blood in the chat. Well, PlayStation's in trouble. GFN, look out. But yeah, man, that's what I want to say. I thank Tim for mentioning me, but what I wanted to do was get those brothers on the horn, because they have more of the latest cloud details, and because they've written those articles, they were the best SMEs, the best subject matter experts to address any of those questions that were being brought up. And shout out to Game Pass Tracker. I'm going to get into the analysis of that. Shout out to them for holding what I think was a very sound and tone spaces. I understand where they were coming from. A lot of people didn't know who they were, but the tone, I think, of the spaces was a productive one for the I think for the community. Here's why. They said some things again that may not have, don't correlate with my forecast, but I think that the analysis that they were looking at was derived in fact, and they were making very logical arguments as it related to their subject matter at hand. Apparently, and I missed this because I was at my one of my external businesses. I was handling that, and all day, well, not all day, but for several hours yesterday. So I was offline for several hours, and I left my phone at home. So when I got back and I saw all this stuff, and I saw what the information was in the space, they were apparently, some people were saying that they felt like that Microsoft was going to admonish the console and go to the cloud, and they brought up some great points in regards to that. And in that regard, I totally agree with their assessment. I think Cloud Dosage agrees with that a lot as well. They'll speak for themselves. Just go to the website again, even though that is a site that I co-created. When I put on that hat, because of what I'm looking to do in totality, which is to be accommodating and welcoming to all types of gamers, regardless if you relate to what I'm looking for or not. Those guys are self-ran. You know what I mean? So definitely go over there and check out their takes. Yeah, I totally get the assessment that, hey, look, there's too much going on right now legally for Xbox to even try to be that gung-ho about cloud gaming. Like, once this clears up with the FTC, you know what I mean, maybe you'll start seeing some things. Tim heard some things about some upgrades likely down the pike. Again, even though I fall in a different space as far as my forecast is concerned, when it comes to what Microsoft's going to do in the future, that's where I'm aligned. They're definitely going to make investments in the cloud. They have to. The current cloud structure, in my opinion, see, people may look at this differently. In my assessment, in my forecast, the current cloud structure that Microsoft has is not good. It's not sufficient. Tim came to a similar conclusion, and others have, even those that are pro Xbox. Not everybody is in that realm, but a variety of those that are pro Xbox are, and I agree with that sentiment. It's gonna have to be better. GeForce Now is showing us what cloud gaming is capable of from a performative standpoint, from from the ease of porting, which I'm pretty sure that Xbox has a similar setup that is less complicated, but they're really outperforming their competition as far as capabilities are concerned. So because of that, hold on one second. I just want to make sure, because I'm hearing. Give me a second, y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, I just heard a chime at my door. Yeah, so I think they have to make upgrades to the service. I'm aligned with Tim there. He's actually he said it publicly that he's heard that there's upgrades coming. As far as what the specifics are on that, if our team over at Cloud Dosage heard that, I defer to them. But I believe they have similar assessments that, that if you don't see any upgrades right now, just because there's so much court and litigation stuff, and it just isn't wise to pursue that right now. I just, on my side, for my forecast, I add to that because what they're offering right now isn't sufficient enough. But yeah, I wanted to get those guys on, but they weren't available. So I wanted to say that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know my stuff. Sure, feel free to tap me if you want just some specific things, and even if I don't have the answer, I'm going to direct you to them, or you can cut me out the middleman and you can go over to clouddosage.com. There's contact information there. My partner in crime over there, the co-creator of Cloud Dosage, Jack DeSlip, definitely hit him up. He's very informative. Jack would have been great if he was available. He'd have been great, a great speaker to just come in there, answer those questions, and bounce out. He's very, very profound in that regard. If you need examples, go to Cloud Dosage, check out our legacy content, and look for a show called The Numbers Show for Stadia. You'll understand where I'm coming from. It's just, unfortunately, the guys weren't available. We're in different time zones. It was bedtime for me, for my old ass. Our other guy, he's in the UK, and just so forth. It just, we're all over the place. And I think that diversity is what makes the efforts over there so great. So definitely, that's another hat that I wear. And so again, away from the performative, in your face, heart on my sleeve, pow, 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 AAA content that I provide here, my other hat is to say to you guys, you want cloud gaming information, go over to them. All right. Okay. With that said, I want to address the space from last night. The space last night was very interesting, and I think a necessary tone, which was, I personally don't understand where the whole Microsoft is going to abandon the console like tomorrow and go to the cloud. I don't know where that came from. And I'm going to echo what Tim said. It sounds like to me like a lot of people are just making shit up now. Like even me, and I'm very, very, very vocal, very, very harsh, no holds barred, critical of Xbox and Microsoft, and particularly Phil Spencer. I think that's preposterous. I could be wrong, but I just think that's preposterous. It just does. In all of my negative assessments, and trust me, there's a lot that you can criticize Microsoft for. I don't think that's happening. Third party, shifting to third party, that's very possible. Did maybe their shift to third party get uprooted because of the uproar, the reputational risk and all that other stuff, and now they're going to pivot and say something that's totally different from what we've been hearing on Monday or next week? Sure, that's possible as well. But I never did I think in the chips where they're going to erode console gaming right now and go strictly to the cloud. I don't believe that. I think their pursuit of the cloud in that heavy of a juncture is a few years off. Like, again, I'm going with Tim on his assessment. Upgrades and changes need to be made. And and a lot of you are ignorant to that, specific ordeal when it comes to cloud gaming. That's why I said go over to those guys and get educated there. So that tone for them to derive that, hey, we want to have this space, we want to put that out there and address that's out there in the echo chamber. We're going to bring Tim on as well, and then we're going to do a Q&A session. We're going to do a reasonably toned Q&A session. I think show that even if you have your major disappointments that you feel about these rumors, that you can still have logical discussions around them. Even though I've been as forceful as I've been in my criticism, I've always said that the underlining message should be, these have not been substantiated yet. My forecast matches these rumors, but it's a forecast. And if you ask me my assessment, I'm going to tell you that yes, I, like Tim, believe that this was the pathway that they were going to approach. And for those that are upset about that, I'm not going to dismiss you. As a matter of fact, like I discussed yesterday, I understand where you're coming from. A lot of people are saying, oh no, it's just console war banter. It's just fanboying. Number one, this is some newbie stuff. This is some, for lack of a better term, some reappropriation stuff from those that don't have the lineage in gaming. It is something that's been happening for the last several years that I really think needs to stop. There's a big difference between the console war and fanboying. I think it just sounds more snazzier and nuanced when we paint with a broad brush the two. The console war is strictly the battle between the console makers, the games they create, and their ability to extend the footprint of their ecosystems and how well of a job that they're doing in doing so. That's it. Back in our day, people could talk about the console war, not really wave a flag. Well, which console do you prefer? Well, I prefer the Super NES. I prefer the Genesis. Some people were more sharp than it. Oh, the Genesis is the stuff. The Super NES, that's crap. For the Super NES, they removed the blood. You got to put in a code to get the blood for, Mortal Kombat and whatever it is, right? But at the end of the day, those different people that had different preferences, that didn't mean that we had to obliterate the other console. I was a Sega Genesis guy. But you better believe I had me a Super Nintendo. Yeah, when people would have the conversations, oh, which one is better, the Genesis or Super? Oh man, the Genesis is kicking ass, man. Super Nintendo isn't the greatest or whatever. Oh man, no, I love the Super Nintendo. Oh yeah, I'm not jobbing. It wasn't this full drawn out battle where you lost friends and people hated you over it. It wasn't like that. So the console wars is just simply an assessment over who's doing what, who's prevailing in that competition, and what type of products, what type of quality products are being created out. Executives talked about it. E3 was born off of it. E3 was born off the console war. Do y'all realize that? Think about that for a second. Let me sip some of my tea. This is some good tea. I love Tazo tea. Do you realize that E3 was born off the console war? Not the regentrified definition that you guys are using now. Again, the purest definition of the console war that I just explained. The battle of two ecosystems and the products and services that are derived from them and how the growth of their footprint is happening amongst consumers. Because of the console war, the ESA or the ERA, or no, was it the ESA said, you know what? Let's create a space to make it easier for each of these ecosystems to barter and sell their products retail, and to help in those efforts, they're individually going to get on stage and battle each other and show why our set of products for this platform may be better than this one, or why you really need to pay attention to ours over there. It was based off the console war. So as executives hit the stage at E3s, they mentioned the console war. It's just nerds, these neo nerds. Like, nerds are all about facts, and they understand that a definition of something is static. These neo nerds want to be cool kids, but then they want to dip their feet in nerdistry. And so then they've overrun our nerdistry with a lot of pop culture activity, which is you start renaming stuff and start coming up with different names or different definitions for the same thing. When you sit there and just constantly try to pump up one platform over another one because it's one that you prefer, and you try to make the other platform seem null and void or not important because it's not my platform, that's fanboying. Totally different from console warring. But I just wanted to point that out because I see a lot of newbies. You guys ain't been gaming. I've been gaming longer than a lot of you been alive. 35 plus years. You're using the definitions wrong. So as someone who talks about the news involved in the console war, it's like, ew, console war, dirty word. Ugh. That's because you reappropriated it falsely. These neo nerds, they grind my gears. Anyway, that being said, yeah. So in paying attention to the competition between the platforms, people have a decision to make in the console war. That's why the console war is so relevant, because every gamer can't buy every system. And the most accessible way at this moment to get your games to the average gamer to their liking is through a console. Now, granted, I love GeForce Now. GeForce Now is my favorite way to play. But my set of thinking and the things that I like don't mimic or don't represent the average gamer. The average gamer wants access to Call of Duty day one. The average gamer wants access to Paw World day one. The average gamer, wants a certain type of performance guaranteed all the time. They want plug and play ability and stuff like that. And GeForce can check many of those boxes, but they can't check all of those boxes. The average gamer wants all those boxes checked. And then that's GeForce Now, which I feel is at the pinnacle of cloud gaming at this moment. I think it's GeForce Now at the top, personally, as it relates to being something that's most compatible for the average gamer. And then everybody else is like at a distant, is farther away. Like there's GeForce Now that's really relatively close in being able to provide what the average gamer wants in being able to buck up against mainstream platforms. And then then everybody else is not even close. That being said, even though I feel that way about GeForce Now personally, again, the average gamer doesn't. So because the average gamer doesn't, the most feasible thing for them right now is the box. Because the average cloud gaming platform does not provide the consistency and the output that the average gamer is looking for. And in GeForce Now cases where it does, and it even surpasses it, it doesn't have access to all the games they're expecting to have access to day one. So the most feasible thing for the average gamer, even if I make the argument, I really feel like that the average gamer would be benefited by cloud gaming, that's just my assessment. That's subjective. That's my subjective thoughts. And I can try to make my case for my subjective thoughts, and people may, say, you know what, you got a point. But objectively, as things stand objectively, the average gamer feels like they are best suited by the box today. So because the average gamer feels like they're best suited by the box today, that includes gamers that, as I was having a conversation with Cold Blood yesterday, that includes gamers that do not participate in fanboying at all. They just simply made a preference. They said, you know what? I can only afford to invest in one ecosystem. Let me look and see what's available. Okay, there's Nintendo, there's the pros, here's the cons, here's PlayStation, here's the pros, here's the cons, and then now here's Xbox, here's the pros, here's the cons. Now, for those that after weighing the pros and the cons that have to make a decision and invest in one ecosystem, because they feel like it's the most feasible thing for them, they then say, okay, they look at their benefits. And the benefits of having an Xbox, and a lot of times when gamers make that decision, they don't do it because they love Phil Spencer. They probably barely even know who the guy is or what the guy does. Okay, I may have heard of the name, but I actually don't know what he does, or they don't know who Sarah Bond is, or all these other people, Aaron Greenberg. They don't follow it that much. They just want to boot up their Call of Duty, play their Madden, and they look at the business proposal or how the product and the services are aligned, and they say, okay, I'm going to go with that, right? So after that gamer goes with the Xbox, they've had to make a pros and cons decision. They had to say, well, damn, the service and or the games that I want, that I prefer, are on this box. I really looked at the Nintendo Switch. I really looked at the PlayStation. They really have compelling points as well, but it was a tough decision, but I went with Xbox. Like, that God of War looks sweet. Horizon Forbidden West looks sweet, but I feel like Halo Infinite is more up my alley. I know Cold Blood's going to get a chuckle out of that, but there are gamers that think that way because they're more into live service games, right? So if you're a gamer that felt that way and was like, man, it was a difficult decision, and a lot of gamers feel that way. I get calls all the time from these type of gamers. These are the gamers that predominate the space. And they're like, well, what is it that you get? Like, I just talked to my business partner the other day. He's one of those type of gamers. And he was like, well, I got the Xbox, man, because last time I talked to you about gaming, you were an Xbox dude. Now you told me back then you would never go to PlayStation. Now you're a PlayStation guy. Like, I can't follow you. I had that conversation with that dude like 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what he remembered. And then I started breaking it down to him. And then he was like, and then, you know, he got one because of me of what was going on. He's like, damn, man, maybe I should get me a PlayStation. So I still get people that ask me that because here's what he's thinking. He's like, everywhere I go, I hear PlayStation. I hear about these games. I hear about they let you do this and they let you do that. Game Pass doesn't speak to me. I tried it. I looked at it. Nothing there that I really cared for, right? And I don't play a whole bunch of games anyway, but it just have been a waste of money to me. I'd rather just outright buy what it is that I'm interested in. I've seen things over that I was interested in, but I preferred Xbox because that's what I was used to. But to find out that now there's the potential that what is going over here is going to be available over there too, damn it, I might as well sell my Xbox and get a PlayStation. Because if I do that, I'll have access to the Xbox stuff that may come and the PlayStation stuff that caught my eye as well. That has nothing to do with fanboying. Those are not people that are fanboying. The majority of people that interact with games don't get on Twitter to do this stuff. That's just us. That's just us nerds, and then now the neo nerds that do that. That either want to belong or now want to carry a flag and want to misappropriate stuff and turn things upside down on its head. The average gamer, they don't know about this podcast. My business partner, you know, he tried entertaining it and, you know, he listened to Z with me, but he's not regularly listening to this stuff unless I'm there listening to it and he just happens to hear it as he's walking by. He's not, no, they don't want to do that. I had a friend named Jay that I worked with. He was a big time, you know, gamer. He got all the games he knew about them. All he would do is just read his Game Informer, maybe check out IG, and that's it. He wasn't listening to no podcast. He wasn't listening to no entities talk. He's like, dude, the time that it takes to listen to this person talk about a game, I could actually be playing the damn game. I don't do that. That's for y'all nerds. That's the way what he told me. And I could do nothing but respect that. He's just trying to find out what's coming out. He's trying to get an idea of how the game is, and he's gonna buy it if it's up his alley. You know, he's not sitting there listening to Crap Gamer and whoever be on a 3-hour podcast. Those 3 hours he could be using gaming. So understand, nerds and neo nerds, the majority of gamers do not operate in this space. So there are gamers that like look at these rumors. Again, these are rumors. They look at these rumors and they might feel a little disenfranchised and might say, well, you know, if this shit is true, I'm going to go to PlayStation because I'll get the games that I prefer and have access to their stuff if I take this $500 device, you know, and trade it in for another one. And let me do it sooner rather than you got people doing it sooner rather than later because they feel like the trade in stock value of Xbox is going to drop. You already got situations to where retailers are saying, hey, we're going to pull Xbox games out. We're not going to sell them anymore. We're not selling them physical. We're not selling physical Xbox games anymore. So when hearing these rumors, they feel like they're being proactive and they're going to go get these games. So let me just wrap this up and just say, well, let me show you guys this stuff first. And then I got to get ready to play some foam stars before the top of the hour. Here, Game Pass tracker people, they put on that space, and there were over 5,500 people that tuned in. That's cool. Tim was there and he spoke. And he gave us assessments of things, and I feel very aligned to them. In that regards, though, somebody said something about Tim and these spaces that he's holding, and I think it was tasteless. Here's why. I don't get joy out of doing this. Why you hear me sighing? Because at one point in time, I thought Danny was cool. But I see something predominating in this gaming space for those that want to have these conversations. They want to play this holier than thou approach. And, because you have a passion in your approach and there's certain things that you will address at the micro level. Oh, you're just ridiculous and you're this, instead of you just saying, you know what, those are the discussions that I don't want to have. I'm going to go elsewhere. And, whatever. Right. I think it was tasteless to say that's why people need to relax in response to just saying, hey, look, it will be a smart thing to just chill and wait until we get confirmation of what's going to happen. Danny said, which I can agree with this, like, that's why people need to relax until we get to hear from Xbox. Like, yeah, I don't think you need to act and do anything outside of just having the discussions right now. I don't think you need to trade anything in right now. That's why I even said in my tweet, I said, if these rumors are true, we don't know if they're true yet. If these rumors are true, then I feel like people should, if you're upset by this and you're affected by this and you fall into that scenario that I've been talking about the last couple of days, you really don't use Game Pass and you were on the fence about getting your Xbox and you got it, but you were still interested in what PlayStation and Nintendo did, particularly PlayStation. I feel like you maybe should trade in your Xbox for PlayStation, access GeForce Now, and then you'll have access to Game Pass through GeForce Now. And the people that are saying, well, Microsoft isn't about the box anymore. Okay, fine. Let them trade in their box and get a PlayStation, and then they can play games. They can play Game Pass through GeForce Now. I feel like that's how they get the best bang for their buck, and they get access to everything. Because let's be honest, just because you have a preference for Xbox doesn't mean that you won't be served or you weren't interested in PlayStation games. It's just that, hey, you have limited resources. Like the average gamer, you can only invest in one ecosystem. That's where the whole term of the console war was derived. Why E3 was even created. E3 was created because it was a marketplace for those that participated in the console war to go to help further extend their interest within the console war, and then within the console war confines, they all got on the stage to market their products and battle each other. So yes, E3 was derived from the activities within the console war and the needs within the console war before things became digital, where you had to meet up front. I got to meet with the jobbers and the marketing team at Walmart so they can sell my product, and we go over logistics. That's embedded within the console war. Me trying to grow my footprint for my product service within my ecosystem. That's all the console war is. Fanboying is this, that doesn't matter because it's not the brand I bought. That's fanboying. And I don't want my brand sharing anything with that brand because I want to be able to brag over my brand, as I look at the end results of the console war. That's fanboying. So for those that feel like that they are disenfranchised because they fit in that unique space of, look, Game Pass doesn't speak to me. I prefer Xbox, but I was tantalized by what I saw over there. It's just that I had to make a choice. It was a tough choice. Now my choice is even tougher because now I'm finding out this shit is going to be available over there. Maybe I should sell my box. So I do agree with that assessment from Danny. This is where I think a cheap shot was taken and it wasn't deserved. Seriously, what's the point on doing a 7-hour space audio discussion about it? Well, I'll tell you, Danny, these people are connected. They know what was going on. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Everybody has said that. Tom Moore, from the biggest, if this was King Thrash and J-Dub telling you this information, I would get it. But these are some of the biggest Xbox supporters, including Jazz, who's saying, look, man, and what he didn't say, but what he should have said was like, in reassessing, maybe we should chillax and wait for final word. Maybe we shouldn't go so overboard. I can respect that. I don't fall in that same spot, but I can respect that assessment. But to continue on from that and say, what was the point of having 7-hour spaces? Well, from the people closest to the sources, these 7-hour spaces in this reaction may be causing them to push back the things that they didn't want them to do. It created that reputational risk bubble that they didn't want bursted. That's what the purpose of the 7-hour. So yes, when you have a product or a service that you've invested something into, and the investment like in a service like a Game Pass that is cyclical, that requires you to keep investing money in order to access this thing that you desire, that you like. So it's not just you purchase something and then you can just go about your business. You don't own anything, not even a license. So because it's that cyclical relationship as a consumer, and you don't want certain things to happen down the pike to severely erode that cyclical relationship, because what's going to happen is, if it becomes bad, then all that back investment that you made, it's going to feel like it was all for naught. Even though you can argue, look, you paid to access this that we had available at that time. You got what you paid for. And to a reasonable extent, that is true. But still, people are continuously invested in that because they wanted you to build from that. Right? So I think these discussions, maybe not in every way that they were had. Yeah, the beast of truth and some of that other stuff that was happening, and then and I don't say this against Wooly. I like Wooly, and I understand where he was coming from, but maybe his tone should have been different when it came to addressing Tim. Like I've had conversations with Tim like, look, bro, I can't, people that may look at you and other content creators. Well, Tim's not a content creator, but may look at you and then the content creators and say, look, you guys led us astray. Like, you guys got an answer to that. Because the funny thing about that is that was being pointed, that assessment was being pointed to me. Oh, you led people astray with Stadia and all the other stuff. No, what we did is that we backed technology and a product and in a service that we felt like, and still to this day felt like, that if it was ongoing, would have revolutionized gaming. All we said was, try this product. All we said is that the Stadia team is committed to this product. And we, as in our forecast, we don't see Google backing away from this before XYZ event. I've had conversations where I said, look, I feel like if 2023, if after 2023, if 2023 doesn't go well for them, then the product might be in trouble. Even when the $1 trillion tech bubble happened and people were complaining about some creators in the space mentioning, hey, look, Stadia closed these jobs amongst us, they could be in trouble. And then us not replying to that, and saying, hey, look, there could be something here. We're just going to keep our fingers crossed. We've said that, but that was our forecast. We didn't sit there and say, oh yeah, definitively, this is what they said, when it's not what they said. We didn't try to dismiss when Satya Nadella and Tim Stewart said what they said. We didn't try to play Habuki science and switch it around to something different. The Stadia team told us themselves out of their own mouths, Stadia is here to stay. We've had conversations behind the scenes with integral individuals talking about, hey, look, we understand the tough road that's ahead because we've had to kind of like reboot. But here's our game plan. And here's what we have rolling out. But at the end of the day, like I've always said, we're not in the boardrooms. The Stadia team was ready to move to Mexico. They were ready to move with the bring your own games stuff. They were ready to move with the low change porting. They were ready to move with all that stuff. The people above them said, no, forget it. Never no more. What can you do? So that's different from us, our frontline contacts and the frontline information that we're getting and all the evidentiary stuff that even they weren't aware of until it was announced to them, you're gone. We, an assessment looking at all that stuff and saying, oh yeah, they're in the facts that yes, they are aligned with their peers. Maybe they don't have as many MAUs because the way that their peers are structured, it's a lot easier for you to engage with a full product per their cloud services than it is with Stadia. Like Stadia was giving you 2-hour trials, where with Xbox, if you already have Game Pass, you can try the full product on xCloud. GeForce Now, if I already have a Steam game and it happens to be available on GeForce Now for free, I can play I can play the full product on GeForce Now, and now even with Amazon Luna. As long as I'm an Amazon Prime subscriber, I can try the subsect of games, the entire catalog. I mean, not the entire catalog, the entirety of the product on Prime. That's a lot easier for people to engage with and digest than, oh, if you sign up, we'll give you a 2-hour trial. You're less likely to get MAUs based off of that. But MAUs aren't they're not necessarily money. And when it came to the cloud services and us talking to developers, out of all the cloud services, the cloud service aspect of it. Stadia was the most lucrative to these publishers and these developers because of the kickbacks through the Stadia Pro program and so forth. And we saw instances of that being reported all the time from publishers and developers. Because GeForce Now, may extend how many more gamers can play your game. But you're not getting a slice of GeForce Now revenue. You can argue xCloud is going to do the same thing. But those percentages are small, just like those percentages would be small of people buying games on Stadia, but then Stadia was giving you extra incentive from the Stadia Pro program. So every one of these cloud platforms had their own pros and cons. Paul Game Forever. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Therefore, Stadia was on par with its cloud peers, just in different ways. Just like there was analysts that had a report out there, ironically, a month before Stadia announced that they were shutting down, that Stadia in NVIDIA GeForce Now, xCloud, and somebody else, they're going to shape cloud based off the data that we see. They're going to be shaping cloud gaming. And then Stadia decided to back out. That's different from hearing a specific thought process from Tim Stewart, from Satya Nadella, and then trying to hand wave it off. But I said all that to say this. Tim is a big boy. He can answer that. So outside of that situation with Wooly, and I like Wooly Gaming. He's one of the people that I've talked to every blue moon about GeForce Now, and I like his assessments of what's going on. I understand where he was coming from, but I think as it relates to Tim, that his approach was a little bit too brash. Now him and the other creator that he was going back and forth with, there's a history there. I'm not speaking to that, but I just think that if he was like, hey, look, you guys got to be honest now, so and so. But Tim got to answer. He got to answer that, and I'm pretty sure he will. But then the space, I think the tone of the space was reasonable, and professional. I thought it was an interesting one to have because it kind of tried to put a pin on people trying to take advantage of these shocking rumors and just trying to make up anything. Like I said, the whole they're going to go shift the cloud gaming tomorrow thing, I find it ridiculous. Now they could come on Monday and say something like that, and I just be like, oop. But there's no evidence that I've seen, that I've heard of, to where that's their take, right? So that's what I think. I think that Danny and sitting there saying, why are they having 7-hour spaces? Yeah, I totally believe that these conversations needed to be had. These conversations needed to be had. There's a lot of followers in the Xbox community, and when you give voice to each of the people that want to air their grievances or display their concerns, yeah, you're going to get 7 hours worth. Now, a lot of that could have been shaven off because a lot of it, the beast of truths and all that other silly stuff, we didn't need that. But when I was in the space that I was in last night, when people were kind of like going off of the subject matter of the cloud thing and what Game Pass Tracker was bringing up in regards to the FTC and why the whole cloud assessment was kind of out in the weeds, you still had people coming in and saying different things outside of that scope. And I thought that they still kept it level-headed. This was a direct attack at Tim, because this guy has a problem with Tim. I don't know why. If you don't like Tim's approach, so what? Don't you do what you do within your space. I understand you having a problem with somebody who may be misinforming people, who may be doing something egregious and grifting people or presenting one thing to a person that isn't factually true. I can understand that. No, you just don't like someone's approach or someone's delivery. If you don't like someone's approach or someone's delivery, just go and do your own delivery and go about your business. There is no need to routinely call them out. And I can't vouch for an entity that continues to do that to people in this holier than thou approach. There are different types of gamers. There are different types of gamers that express themselves in different ways. Nobody died and made you the purveyor of how gaming talk is supposed to happen, with the elevator music and this, that, and then the cozying up to a brand. I'm known as the Stadia guy to most of these people. You want to know a secret? By the time Stadia closed, a lot of those people did not like me. They didn't like me. They just didn't. I was talking to Stadia people. I was on a first name basis and had a first line of contact with a lot of those people. And when SG&E closed down and I started getting on their case about it, they cut off those ties. They cut those ties off quickly. It wasn't until a certain someone, they started interviewing people, and because we were close friends, you know, they've said, hey, look, we would like to have you as part of this process. Did I get into some good graces again? Well, okay, this guy is helping in a positive way extend our product and say good things about us, so I guess he's okay. And I mean, I don't take it personally. I'm only bringing it up now because the product and the service is long gone, and I have no ill will against those people. I love the Stadia people. Love them to this day. My issues aren't with the Stadia people. My issue is with the top brass at Google. My issue isn't even with Jack Buser. I understand why he derived that. He would never say this, but I feel like he was just like, looking at the top brass, the people above him at Alphabet, and said, you guys aren't serious about this. We need to find another avenue. How about Google Cloud with games? You guys aren't serious about this. Look at what they're doing over there. We got this great thing here, and you guys are not serious about this. Let's find something else that you can stomach. Because Jack Buser, I know about gaming. You want come kick it with me. Come in my lounge, come in my loft, come play and sit in the arcade cabinet, look at all the games and shit that I have on my shelf. I know about games. Let's not play these games. Y'all ain't serious. So my ill will isn't even towards Jack Buser. I understand why he did what he did. I've expressed that earlier. I love the Stadia people, the ones that were cool with me, the ones that maybe weren't cool with me, that felt uncomfortable with my approach to things, all of them, because you guys were integral in creating and trying to maintain something that really could have positively shifted gaming in the better even further. And unfortunately, you just were in the hands of an upper brass and Alphabet that just didn't know what they had, that didn't know how to manage what they had. And you didn't get what you need, but you did the best with what you had. You know what I mean? So my hat goes off to them. But by the time that thing closed down, most of them, well, I won't say most of them, but everybody wasn't waving MM2K flags. They weren't buying MM2K shirts and saying, we love this guy, we love what he's doing. A lot of them felt like, oh man, this guy's too much. And he could turn on us in any given moment. And they cut off ties to me. Not all of them, but a lot of them did. It is what it is. It's a business. I get it. So even though that was the dynamic, I still supported the platform. I didn't curl my lips up, ooh, man, these people won't talk to me anymore. Because I wasn't, as much as I appreciated and I adored that team, I wasn't doing it for them. I stuck up for them when they should have been stuck when the time presented itself, but I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for you listening on the other end of this, the consumer. I did it for you. So as long as they were providing something and heading in a direction that would have benefited you, they were going to get my accolades. They were going to get my support, and they were going to get my ire, and they were going to get my criticisms when they weren't doing what I felt like they should be doing. I don't understand this need by folks like Danny to feel like that they always gotta rub elbows with a brand and a company. Like, you know, and got something against people that want to say, look, I'm going to be severely critical to you. It's all about who you're here for. I'm not here for the brands. I am here for you, the consumer. Because I want the brands to best represent us. Danny will tell you in a heartbeat, yeah, you don't want to burn bridges. I don't give a fuck about burning a bridge. And that's the whole duality of Jazz. But someone told him, you don't want to burn bridges, and that Jazz, that the personality that was there, that he said, I don't give a fuck. And I feel the same way. I don't give a fuck about burning the bridge. I'm here for the consumer. What needs to be said needs to be said. So I don't understand this. I get to where if Danny wants to take this approach, he has every right to do so. But I don't get to where people like Danny feel like they are the purveyors and the overlordians of how you talk about video games. They're not. Do what you do, and that's fine if you want to do that. But gaming is a lot more dynamic than you, Danny, and it will be, always will be. There are elements about the discussions I don't like, but there are people that consume content styles that I don't like. I don't sit there and rag on the content styles. And I applaud, even though I may think it's several years too late, I applaud the Xbox gamers that raised their voice, because I feel like that where there's smoke, there's fire. Tom Warren, Jazz, and all these other people at the onset of this, they and even Xbox era, they don't write the things that they write unless there was some legitimacy to this stuff. And if all these voices coming together and being as vocal as they were, if that creates some type of change, then good for them. That's what you're supposed to do. You are a consumer and a gamer first before you're a brand waver. Oh, you don't want to burn a bridge. No, I'm a consumer first. I'm a consumer that happens to like your product, but I don't work for you. If anything, you work for me. But if people like Danny have a different approach, fine. But nowhere did Tim. You could say what you want about Tim. Oh, you're too late about that. You was doing all this. You could say anything that you want about Tim. Here's what I will say in Tim's favor. Tim had a line and he's standing by it. He drew his line in the sand. If you do X, Y, Z, I can no longer support what you're doing going forward. And he's not backing from that line. And I think that's what all consumers should do. Whether I think the line is too far back and too in the favor of you getting beaten in the head with a cash register or not, I think every consumer should draw a line and be like, nah, you're not getting my money if you do this. And be vocal about it. And yes, because there are so many supporters that are so concerned about this, and there are so many content creators or those in the influencer space that want Xbox to hear what people have to say. Damn it, you had Jeff Keighley, you had Yoshida in these spaces. You got other entities in these spaces. No telling who else, no telling what sock accounts Microsoft. Phil Spencer said, "We hear you." What does that mean? Somebody used a Microsoft sock account or an Xbox sock account and they listen to these damn spaces. So being that these people are giving voice to all these out here, all these consumers out here, yeah, it's going to take 7 hours. It might take 41, might take 21, might take 14, might take 100. Everybody has a voice because of this, and Microsoft needs to hear it. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if your message is, now, I don't understand why people are threatening Microsoft or, doing this and doing, I get the extreme activity. But if someone that said, hey, look, I'm taking responsibility because I told you to trust them that they wouldn't do this, and they did do it. So because I'm taking accountability and I'm letting you voice your concerns to Microsoft, if this is something that they want to do, they need to hear from you. You got a problem with someone taking accountability for what they did and trying to fix it for the consumer because you don't want to burn bridges because it's all about you. It's about you creating content and people liking you and people recognizing how many episodes you have and how many clicks you made. It's not about you, bro. It's about the consumer first. Because without the consumer listening to you, you don't reach the benchmarks that you get to acclaim here and there. Worry about burning that bridge. If we want to be so high and mighty, I can get on my soapbox too. Worry about burning that bridge with the consumer that you may have also, like Tim and like who others, said, no, we don't feel like Microsoft would do this. Instead of sitting there trying to now on the back end of this make excuses for them if they do it. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some consumers and some gamers who this would have never bothered. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. If this would have never bothered you, if the audio matched the visuals, you're like, look, I don't care about this aspect of it. It's as long as it's dropping day and date and Game Pass, it's fine with me. I'm not talking to them. But you and others have spoken out against this and said, no, they need to do this like Tim did. Now they're not doing that. And in so many words, you've acknowledged how that would have devalued certain aspects to the consumer. Tim's like, look, taking responsibility for vouching that I don't think they're going in that path. If you don't feel like you need to do that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. For those of you that are minded like Danny. But why is there? Because people have a different approach that you guys feel like you gotta attack them for being different. Different isn't always wrong. Tim didn't disparage anybody that felt like, you know what, I'm sticking with them. And Tim said, you know what, if that's your approach, that's fine. I drew a line in the sand and I'm being responsible for the people that listen to me that fit into a certain demographic. So I'm giving them a voice. What is wrong with that? This holier than thou, there's only one cookie cutter, monolithic way of talking about gaming. That mind state has to stop. I don't know where it came from. Danny and people like him, I think we're the same age. We've been gaming just as long. That's not part of the culture, bro. It never was. Where do y'all get this from? Where did this come from? This was not part of our culture. There's always been different type of gamers with different type of approaches and different types of styles. I always use the example. The tabletop gamer. I never looked at the table. I've never indulged in it, but I didn't look at the tabletop gamer that sat in front of the arcade and flipped their shit over and say, this is stupid. Get your ass in here and here goes some quarters. Start playing some Street Fighter. I never did that. You better get in here and play some Altered Beast and get the hell out of here with this Dungeons and Dragons shit. I never did that. That's the equivalency of what you're doing now. You support Xbox, he support Xbox. There's a certain demographic that you speak to and you found success on. There's a certain demographic that he successfully connected to. Just like there's a demographic that you successfully connected to. You speak for your demo, he speaks for his demo. Just represent your demo. And just say, look, I come at it from a place to where I feel like that, we're going to sit back and wait for there to be clarity on this before we react and respond. If people want to do that, fine. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not. Why are you doing that? Why are you? Because he's not on the other side saying, why aren't you guys upset? They told you so many things and you bought the console based on these things and now they're flipping back on it and you guys are just making excuses for him. He's not saying that. So why are you doing that and why can't you extend the same courtesy? That's where the holier of thou thing becomes hubris. And you guys don't see that. This is why I think over the last few years that side of the community keeps getting attacked with the holier than thou accusations. Y'all don't see that. And I don't know where it comes from. I hear a lot of people say you older gamers just like to hate. Nah, bro, I'm the same age as these guys. I don't know where that shit comes from. I'm gonna keep it real. It's strange to me. It's weird. I don't know where it comes from. It's this, dare I say, this bourgeois air that some gamers have about themselves, that they just look down their nose at other people with different takes on things. Not necessarily different takes, different styles on things. This is not a take thing. This is not an objective thing. This is all about style. Your style is whatever your style is. I could care less. As long as you ain't by negligence or by attempt giving people false information, I could care less what your style is. You do you. And if your style isn't one akin to me, then I just move on. I don't have to attack you. People are upset. There are huge influencers that people feel like, hey, along with Microsoft, if these rumors are true, we've been led astray, and we kind of been led astray because of some of the assurances that you gave us along with them. I got something to say about this. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with the content creators taking a pause and saying, you know what? All right, I hear you. Let me give you a voice in case there is something, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And let me give you an opportunity to speak to Microsoft and Xbox and let them know, what this means to you and the potential impact if they do go down this route. Because I don't think this is derived from nothing. If Tom Warren wasn't reporting on this, you know what I mean? And as much as I don't like Tom Warren's assessments of things, but if Tom Warren's, I've never had a problem with his, when he's close, when we know he's relatively close to something and reporting on, I've never had a problem with that. It's just the things that he's not close to is very obvious, but he's close to Microsoft in source information there. So I don't have a problem with that. But where Tom Warren and Jazz, you don't get more pro Xbox and Microsoft than them and others, Xbox era. For them to uniformly be reporting on this and say, look, this is something serious and something real with real possibilities to it. This is something that I think that's enough of a catalyst for people to speak up. Now, as far as throwing your Xboxes away or burning them or even trading them now, even I said, if this is real, which we don't know if this is real in totality yet. Also, I said that despite people speaking up and airing their grievances, which I'm okay with, whenever we have these conversations from the creator and the influencer aspect, as long as we say, look, this is all speculative, these are all rumors, as long as we pivot from that plane, I think the conversations are more than justified. I don't think anybody should be attacked for looking at their demographic that they represent and saying, okay, you have an issue with this, you have a voice, say something. There's no problem with that. And I think anybody that's trying to create a problem for that, if you want to find a real problem, you might have to look in the mirror. All right, with that said, I got to get out of here because I got to play some foam stars. But the last thing I want to say is Doc Dark. This is why we need direct communication from the gamers themselves, because Doc Dark, and let me turn on my PlayStation because I got to play some foam stars. Lord Jesus, help me. Doc Dark was included in this article. Hold on, I gotta switch. Hold on, let me go here so I can get, okay. Oh man, it's still, I'm still in Grand Blue Fantasy. I thought I closed the game. I guess I didn't. Okay, hold on. All right, let's do this. We gotta go home. We gotta get out of Grand Blue Fantasy, close the game. All right, and I love that game, by the way. Here, let's do this. So Doc Dark, he was the poster child for this article, and I don't think that was fair. Doc, this was all satire, and this is where people say, look, I want to click. This is huge. We got this guy. We got a picture of a guy, with an image of a guy holding the console, and such and such, such and such. Oh, this is golden. Let's run with it. We're gonna credit him. And I think, I mean, as a content creator, you weigh, the price of exposure. But the way that this has been drafted, it's like he was serious. He wasn't serious. It's a satire. Now, does the dog do some damage control and say some things that like, come on, dude, like stop drinking the Kool-Aid? Yeah, he has at times, but it ain't that serious, dude. And now we got other content creators trying to use him as the poster child, as the rabid extremist Xbox loving fanboy. And I don't think that's fair. I just want to go on the record and say that I know Doc personally, had the opportunity to deal with him when it comes to cloud gaming and Xbox. He was on a show of ours called The Commission. Great show. Definitely check it out. There's episodes on this channel. If you want to see how that is great, it was a great show. That being said, yeah, man, I don't. This shows the egregious nature of publications and how they could have very easily put in there, look, even though this was satire and he was joking, This isn't as serious as some of the other takes here. It just shows you that the connection that a lot of these creators had to Xbox and even wanting to create this type of imagery. You know what I mean? I that would have been fair, right? But no, let's paint him as some lunatic that wanted to sing to his Xbox because that's going to get us clicks. This is what you have to deal with, people. And because this is what you have to deal with, this is what I advise. Take the opportunities to voice your concerns and your opinions. Take advantage of these spaces. Don't go ape shit crazy, batshit crazy. You can air your grievances and you can be calm about it and direct and to the point. Let Microsoft hear what you have to say. And I think what you need to do is to add the punch to what you have to say. You have to say why it's a problem and what it's going to lead you to do. Don't just talk from 5,000 feet. Yeah, I think people. No, just say, look, I don't like this. I know there's other people that don't like this. And here's what we're going to do, including myself. We are going to no longer invest in Game Pass, no longer do this. That's the best way to speak to a Fortune 500 company. Don't just speak ambiguously. Talk directly on what it is that you don't like, why, and what it's, and therefore, if it comes to fruition, what it's going to cause you to do. It has to happen in that chronological order with a lot of emphasis put on number 3. Because you're not going to get represented properly in these publications. You're not. Ask Doc Dark. I just think it's time that we gaming is going to change forever because of this, no matter what's said on Monday. Or gaming, not gaming, but the gaming discourse here on Twitter is going to change forever. I think it's going to change for the positive because now we're going to be less reluctant to maintain or super glue a flag to our hands. I think there's going to be some more skepticism, and then hopefully that skepticism is going to spread around. Maybe not, but I don't think things are going to be the same. There's too many people on the record saying too many serious things to where I think it's going to be exactly the same. And that's a good thing. No company, Microsoft nor PlayStation, should be complacent and feel like that they can just do what they want to their consumer base with no repercussions. Even if you feel like that a move is necessary, I say take a page out of Nintendo's book. When Nintendo said, look, we can't compete in this AAA genre defining space anymore. We're outside of pretty much of the console war as being aggressive as we were. We're going to do something different. They were honest and transparent. They took that risk. Now I get it. They took that risk because they had a very strong mobile consumer base, and they could take that time to pivot from consoles and do something else. But Microsoft and Xbox, again, at the extent of how much of these rumors may be true, they need to take out a page out of Nintendo's book and be transparent. It's not necessarily that the changes they want to make are egregious. It's the way that they're being communicated. You can't tell, regardless of how superficial you may think gamers are about XYZ. If that's the thing that they latch on to, that's the thing that they latch on to. That's the reason why they're paying you. That's the reason why they're paying you. So you got to be transparent with them and say, look, that thing that is prompting you to support us, we just can't provide it in that fashion anymore. Here's what we're going to do. I think that's really the issue more than anything. And for those of you that, again, that want to gatekeep on how you talk about games, I don't know where that came from. It's not an old head thing, as I normally hear. You old heads love to hate. No, it's not an old head thing. It's a bourgeois thing. And I don't, and it just needs to stop. But again, people are going to be people. I've said my piece about it, but Tim, you know, he's going scorched earth. And I think I'm being more reasonable, even though I've been animated. I think I'm being more reasonable in breaking it down than Tim is going to be. Tim is just looking at it as an attack, and he's going to react. You know what I mean? But if you want to have a serious discussion about this, if you're listening for the wing that's under Danny, I'll just put it like this. There are many styles, because we all as content creators represent different demographics. You can represent your demographic without shooting down another. You don't have to be crabs in a barrel. Think about that before we stand on our soapbox and try to look down on others. Well, that's it. That's it from your boy. I would go through the comments. I'm sorry, y'all. But I got to get to this Foam Stars before Cold Blood got to go. With that said, I appreciate all y'all. Till next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace. Cold Blood, I'll meet you in the Discord.